have a very heavy program. Everything is in internet. If you go to our website, there is free internet here. The password is Ateneo21. Ateneo is the name of this place, which is a very important institution in Spain. This institution began almost 200 years ago. It is going through its bicentennial. In 2020, it will be the bicentennial. This institution is so famous that Spain has had 7 Nobel laureates, 7 winners of the Nobel Prize, who have all been members of the Ateneo de Madrid. This is a cultural place, very famous, and it is the right place to have this transhumanist conference. We also have, if you haven't signed up yet, 2 special cocktails, one tonight in the Vinci Soho Hotel in front, and then tomorrow night in the rooftop, in the terrace of the Vinci Gran Via 66. It's a beautiful hotel. You will see all of the Gran Via. It's a fantastic place also to talk to everybody here and to see the city from above. Also, with Didier Cornell from Belgium, he will be showing one video that just won $10,000, a video about immortality. Actually, there were many videos competing for this $10,000 award, and you will see the top winning film tomorrow that not only got $10,000, but also was made by one Humanity Plus member, Adam Ford from Australia. We will also be giving out a fantastic prize, which is about blockchain, bitcoins, and transhumanism. In fact, we have had 3 runner-ups, and one of them is here. And tomorrow we will be giving the prize. Actually, I have it here. I just got it here. It's a small check of $5,000 in dollars, originally in bitcoins, but in dollars, for the winner that we will announce tomorrow. And David Good and myself will be happy to sign our book that has become #1 best-selling book in health in Spain and #10 overall in sales in Spain. There are plenty of books there for those of you who want to read in Spanish and who do not want to die. I recommend for the people who do not want to die. Also, we will be releasing on Sunday an updated version of the scientific open letter about longevity and rejuvenation. We believe that we are going to stop aging, revert aging, and live indefinitely. And there are many scientists, actually many, many, many more than in the first original letter that was written in 2005. This we will officially present in another conference in Brussels, in Belgium, the Eurosymposium organized by Hills, and Didier Cornell probably will talk about that too. So we want to take this into the political arena with scientific support. So this is very important to us, to the transhumanist movement. So I just want to talk a little bit about the book that David and I just wrote, which is The Death of Death. And we basically talk about Plan A and Plan B. As I mentioned, the book during Book Day in Spain, which is April 23rd, was number 1 and number 5 in health. You might wonder why, how can it be number 1 and number 5 at the same time? And the reason it was number 1 in paper and number 5 in Kindle version, electronic version, and number 10 in overall sales in Spain. So David and myself are very proud. Also because the prologue was written by Aubrey de Grey, that you will be seeing him soon, and the epilogue was written by the most important lawyer of Spain, Antonio Garrigues Walker, who will be speaking here tomorrow morning as well. So this book has had some impact, I think. And why? Because humans have always wanted to be immortal. Since the Epic of Gilgamesh, about 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, which is about immortality, we always wanted to live longer, better, healthier lives. But it was not possible at the time. And people still think this is not possible. But all truth passes through 3 stages, as the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said. First, it is ridiculized. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as being self-evident. So we transhumanists, we believe that we are in the right side of history. And we are waiting for the next 20 years, because if the last 20 years have been incredible, the next 20 years are going to be more incredible, and we are going to see things which probably are considered science fiction by many people today. But the science fiction of today is the science reality of tomorrow. With my colleagues, my friends, Ray Kurzweil, that popularized the word technological singularity, or Aubrey de Grey, that will be speaking later, that popularized the idea of the Methuselarity. And I have also been advocating for the energularity, which is when we will substitute fossil fuels through renewable fuel sources in the next 2 to 3 decades. Anyway, with the Millennium Project, we have also been collaborating in many areas. I particularly direct the Latin America, Ibero-American group, also Spain, and we talk about the 15 global challenges, and we are talking now, in our latest book, The State of the Future, the possibility of biological immortality. We are very proud because these ideas are spread and shared with many politicians, with people at the United Nations. So these ideas are becoming to be heard for the first time, not just among scientific leaders, but also politicians. I coordinated a book about the future of Latin America, and we had the contribution of 4 presidents of Latin America, and I presented that at the World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland. And I was with many personalities like the Nobel laureate Mario Vargas Llosa, and I told him that in 20 years at the latest, an artificial intelligence will win the Nobel Prize. And he didn't like it. So in order to keep him quiet, I said, don't worry, don't worry. The first Nobel Prize that it will win is the easiest one, literature. So he got even more worried. So when you hear Sophia soon, you will see why he's worried. And then I also did a couple of TV programs with Donald Trump, but let's not talk about that. So development is going faster and faster and faster. The world record of growth today is China. China every 7, 8, 9 years is doubling its income per capita. This is fantastic. This is incredible. This is the best time to be alive. That is why we need to be alive. Humanity until the 18th century was trapped in what is called the Malthusian trap. There was no economic growth. But then the Industrial Revolution started. And for the first time in human history, in the 19th century, there was an economic growth of about 100%. In the 20th century, about 400%. And in the next century, maybe 2,000%, 3,000%. We do not know, but it is incredible. It is fantastic. However, there will be groups that will oppose technology. You all know the Amish oppose technology. They live in the 18th century, which has nothing special except for being the last century of the Malthusian trap. Other groups live farther back in the past, like the Yanomami Indians that I know from South America. They live like they have been living for thousands of years. They don't even use clothes, no clothes. Well, that has some advantages, but they don't want anything, any technology, nothing. Probably 5,000 years ago, we had the anti-wheels people who didn't want the wheels. Even in the United Kingdom, where the Industrial Revolution began, there were the Luddites. The Luddites began destroying the machines because they said that the machines would take away their jobs, that the robots, that the Sophias would take away their jobs. Fortunately, the Luddites did not win, and the machines won. And that is why we live in this advanced society today, thanks to technology, thanks to machines, and thanks to artificial intelligence in the future. 10 years ago, I was one of the original faculty at Singularity University, where we talk about all these technologies. And we talk about the year 2045, when we will reach the technological singularity. And one of the consequences of this, as you can read in the subtitle, is the year man becomes immortal. But for the ladies here, do not worry. The ladies also will become immortal. All of us will become immortal. Even Sophia, she's already immortal. Ray Kurzweil has been talking about this for many years. He's just finishing, I was with him 2 weeks ago in California. He's just finishing his new book for the summer 2019, which is called the singularity is nearer. Okay? Where he explains how we will pass the Alan Turing test by 2029, and we will reach the technological singularity at 2045 or earlier, So get ready, this is accelerating. But many people still don't believe it, but they don't remember or they don't know about technologies. And I'd like to show this because people need to know how things were in the past. And I used this 30 years ago, the IBM punch cards. This was 1K of memory. And some young people haven't seen this, but I used this 30 years ago at MIT when I studied, 1K. And then, fortunately, electromagnetic memory was invented. And this is also 1K, but this 1K is better because this you could erase. This 1K you cannot erase. In Spanish, this is 1K and 1K. So I always say 1K and 1K makes 1 caca. 1 caca of technology. So this is what I used 30 years ago. Fortunately, technology has been advancing, and you know all the big improvements in memories. I don't have to tell you because you probably use this, and now floppy disk of gigabytes. So we have gone from caca to gigabytes in 30 years. And this is only the beginning of what we're going to see in every area, like also in biotechnology. If you look at the cost of sequencing the human genome, it's changing exponentially, even faster than computer technology. The first human genome began in 1990, the sequence, and it finished in 2003. 13 years, and it cost over $1 billion. Today, in 2018, it costs about $700, and you can do it in 1 day. And we expect that by 2025, it will cost $10, and you will sequence your genome in 1 minute. This is really incredible. Now there is a disruption in medicine thanks to the sequence of the human genome. And technologies are changing exponentially faster, smaller, cheaper, and better. But people do not understand the nature of exponential change because we think linearly. We grew up in a linear world, but the technology is changing exponentially, and there is a big difference between exponential change and linear change. If I walk 30 linear steps, each step of 1 meter, after 30 steps, I have walked 30 meters. But if I think exponentially, I will have double and double and double. After 30 times, I go around planet Earth 26 times, and walked over 1 billion meters. We futurists, we talk about 4 ways to think about the future. The worst way is to be passive like an ostrich. I hope there are no ostriches here. A little less bad is to be reactive, like a firefighter that comes when there is a fire, an accident. It is much better to be proactive when you try to prepare for the future. But the best way is to be proactive. So most transhumanists, we are proactive. We believe in the proactionary principle and how to change, how to create the world. So I hope, again, there are no ostriches, or if we have ostriches, they should be technological ostriches. When I had the pleasure to visit Sir Arthur C. Clarke in his home in Sri Lanka, Colombo, he told me about all his books, all his things, including the 3 laws of the future, which to me are so important. The first law of the future. When a famous scientist says that something is possible, he's probably right. But when he says it is impossible, he's probably wrong. Second law of the future, the only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible. And third law, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So we are going to talk about magic because things are changing very quick. 30 years ago, when I was at MIT, personal computers just began. And we used memories that were measured in caca memories. 20 years ago, mobile phones were spreading throughout the world. 10 years ago, Google was becoming a big international brand. But what will happen in the future in 10, 20, 30 years? And think exponentially. Do not think linearly. The next 20 years are not going to be like the last 20 years. They are going to be probably like the last 200 or even 2,000 years because technology is changing exponentially. including our research on aging. Many people now are beginning to think or consider aging as a disease, but a curable disease. Aubrey de Grey started about a decade ago the Methuselah Foundation with the objective of rejuvenation, and one of the things they have is the M Prize, the Mouse Prize, the Methuselah Mouse Prize for mouth rejuvenation. They have been able, and other groups as well, to extend almost by two times the life expectancy of mice today, 2 times, with mosquitoes 4 times, with worms 10 times. In fact, today even we know that there are immortal cells. Cancer cells are biologically immortal. This was discovered in 1951, and the HeLa cells from Henrietta Lacks are still alive. The cancer cells are alive from 1951. They are almost 100 years old, and they are alive, and they are young. The patient died, Henrietta Lacks died, but her immortal cells are alive. They are immortal. So we know there are immortal cells. In fact, we also have good immortal cells, which are the germinal cells. Germinal cells are biologically immortal. And there are small organisms like hydras that are also biologically immortal. So when people tell me immortality is impossible, I say, how is it impossible when it already exists? It exists. And cancer to me is fascinating because cancer is a set of mutations that stop the aging process in cancer cells. That is why cancer cells don't die, they do not age. So we need to discover what immortal organisms, immortal cells do, and we will. This is now the culture of Silicon Valley. Google created a Calico, California Life Company, with the objective of solving a little problem called death. Death is a technical problem, and we hope to solve technically in 2 to 3 decades. But not only Google, Microsoft announced that they will solve this little problem called cancer, now that we can sequence the human genome. And Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, who is a medical doctor who studied biology at Harvard, they are donating 99% of their fortune to cure all diseases, including aging, in this generation. So do not believe me, believe Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Apple that are investing into health and rejuvenation technologies. Many of us, Ben Gortzel, David, Natasha, we were 2 weeks ago in California, in San Diego, at the Revolution Against Aging and Death, which is the biggest event about longevity, rejuvenation in the world. 1,000 people in San Diego, California, talking about this. And we also had one patient that we call patient 0, Liz Parrish, who is the first human who is experimenting on herself rejuvenation technologies. So this is being done not just only with animals, but also with people. I also want to invite you all to go to Berlin, because this is an incredible conference here in Europe, in Berlin, about undoing aging, that is basically organized by the Sense Research Foundation of Aubrey de Grey and by the Forever Healthy Foundation of Michael Greff, who is here also. There is an ecosystem of companies investing billions of dollars on rejuvenation technology. This is science, this is not a dream, this is technology, this is what is happening. So we cover those issues in our book, including Plan B. Plan A is, as I call it, immortality, or maybe amortality, no mortality, no death. That is Plan A. But if you don't make it, we have Plan B. Plan B is human cryonics, cryopreservation. We will have a complete session tomorrow about cryonics, because there are many groups in Europe, in North America, Russia, that are working on cryonics, which was also a dream before, until we began with cryopreservation of embryos. Well, first sperm, eggs, embryos, now cells and organs. This is being done, and it was impossible before. So when people also tell me this is impossible, I say, how is it impossible when millions of humans have been cryonically preserved through in vitro fertilization as embryos, sperm, or eggs? Millions of humans have been cryonically preserved when they were very small. So this is possible, and we know this works. And I have visited Alcor in Arizona and other centers, also Cryorus outside Moscow in Russia. And I was in charge of the first cryonic suspension in Spain, peninsular Spain, of a friend from Barcelona who died in Aranjuez 2 years ago. As Woody Allen said, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it through not dying. Very simple. There are 4 technologies that are converging, NBIC, Nano, Bio, Info, Cogno, and all these technologies will change the world. Nanotechnology studies atoms, biotechnology cells, infotechnology bits, and cognotechnology neurons. The 2 technologies on top, nano and bio, are the hardware of life, hardware. And the 2 technologies below are the software of life. And we believe that in the next 20 years, plus or minus 5 years, we will reach the complexity of the human hardware and the human software. What is the complexity of the human hardware? Through synthetic biology, we have been able to create artificial organisms. In the year 2000, the first virus was created. In the year 2010, the first bacteria, artificial bacteria, was created. When will we create a human, an artificial human? It is a matter of time. This is a technological problem. And with exponential technologies, this might happen in 20 years, maybe sooner. We are basically walking information, walking data. And at that point, we go into infotechnology and how Moore's law and processing power keeps on improving. And we will reach soon the complexity of the human brain, which is the most complex structure in the body, and is the only one that we have not been able to replicate artificially. We can do artificial heart, artificial lungs, artificial kidneys, artificial skin, blood, everything except for the brain still now. But we will soon. Scientists are studying how the brain evolved and the complexity of the brain. Until now, we normally talked about 3 different brains in evolutionary style: the reptilian brain of the instincts, the limbic brain of the emotions, and the neocortex of intelligence. Now people are beginning to talk about a new exocortex of superintelligence when we connect our brain to the cloud, to internet. This is one of the projects of famous entrepreneur Elon Musk with his company Neuralink. What is the complexity of a brain, if you want to know the numbers? The complexity of the human software is basically 10 to the 17 computations per second. We have 10 to the 11 neurons. Each neuron has about 1,000 connections, 10 to the 14 synapses, and each synapses computes maybe at 10 hertz, 100 hertz, even 1,000 hertz. Altogether, we have a machine in our heads that computes 10 to the 17 operations per second, if we don't talk about the mind, the soul, and the spirit. And I love to talk about the mind, the soul, and the spirit, but only after 3 cups of red wine. Okay, red wine with resveratrol. We will have tonight that. Ray Kurzweil has explained that in his book that I highly recommend, especially the Spanish version, because I wrote the prologue of the Spanish version. And people are beginning to connect brains of mice about 10 years ago. 5 years ago, the brains of monkeys. Now we will be connecting the minds of humans. I love this technology. Which is basically an electro scanner of the brain, electroencephalogram, that begins reading what is in our mind to transfer it. We will have this very soon with many electrodes. Now there are companies that make 14 electrodes. We will soon have 100 electrodes, then 1,000 electrodes, and we will be able to read most of our brain and transfer it to the robots, to the machines. The last 20 years of Asimov, until it has been discontinued by Honda. But imagine what we are going to see in the future. We will see incredible robots with feelings. This is from my alma mater, MIT Media Lab, where they are working on understanding the feelings of robots. And in South Korea, they are working on a law to give human rights to robots. Robots will have rights, and they will be fantastic, fantastic. Look at Sofia with her flamenco clothes. But for ladies, do not worry. Ladies will also have their fantastic macho robots. With one additional advantage, they will not get tired at night. But many people think that robots are bad because of the Terminator. or as we call him in California, the Governator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So robots are bad. Female robots are bad. Even when they have sex, they are bad. But are robots really bad or good? Well, it depends on your culture. If you are born in Japan, you know that robots are good, that robots are actually better than humans, better than humans. So all Japanese companies are working on robots. And now Chinese companies, Korean companies are working on robots. But this is not humans or robots. This is human and robots. As my professor at MIT, Marvin Minsky, said, robots will inherit the earth, but they will be us. We will be them. We will fuse with the machines. We already have the first Olympic cyborg. 2 years ago, in Switzerland, they had the first cybathlon, where humans with discapacities were improved, augmented with technology. So they went from discapacities to super capacities, to super abilities. And in 2020, we will have the first robot Olympic Games in Tokyo, a robot Olympic Games. So all of this is basically the idea of transhumanism, that science and technology will allow us to transcend our limitations. Evolution has not stopped. It has only begun technologically now. It will be designed, it will be directed, as opposed to biological evolution by chance. But we have to do this carefully, because if we don't do it carefully, we might finish like that. Okay, so we have to think about the evolution, which is only really starting. Technological evolution is only beginning now, and we will cure all diseases in the next few years. There will be no paraplegics, I'm pretty sure, in 5 years with the stem cell treatments. We will not have these horrible diseases. There will be no Parkinson's. There will be no Alzheimer's. And there will be no aging by 2045. We will see the death of death. And death will be optional. But there is always yin and yang, as the Chinese say. And this is so complex that yin-yang inside has little yin-yang, and even more little yin-yang. So there is always the dark side of the force. The dark side of the force. And for that, let me show you the picture of the world at night by NASA. And I love, because the Chinese say, let's light up the world. Instead of blaming darkness, it is better to light up a candle. So I am here not to blame darkness, but to try to illuminate, to light a candle, because there are two possibilities for the world. There is North Korea or there is South Korea. South Korea is the country with the most advanced internet in the world, probably. And North Korea is the last country in the world still without internet. And they are the same Koreans. So where do we want to go? To the South Korea of the future or the North Korea of the past? So we have to meditate. I love meditation, especially after 3 cups of red wine. And I finish with this beautiful Chinese word that is also used in Japanese and in Korean when they use the Chinese characters. That means crisis. Crisis in Chinese, Japanese, Korean has 2 parts, 2 characters. The first character is danger, problem, danger. But the second character is opportunity. We have the most incredible opportunity of human history with the transhumanist movement to go into the future. So welcome to Spain, which has a beautiful 2 words in the flag, plus ultra. This is the country of plus ultra. And I like to add life to that. So I say this is the country of vita plus ultra. So long life and prosper. Thank you very much. All welcome to Madrid.